for a full freaking day. That's what happened, not with the starting job, but with the backup job. Monday, number 1, Mitch Trubisky. Number 2, not Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph. Number 3, Pickett. That was the way it stayed all day long into Tuesday. Then, oh, wait, here's a new depth chart. We've had it change. Even though we haven't had a practice, we've had it change. We haven't had a game, we've had it change. Now Pickett is 2 and Rudolph is 3. Yesterday, Mike Tomlin explained the circumstances that resulted in the quick change to the depth chart.
Really pleased with the growth and development of Kenny. That's why he's listed as number 2. I thought his acceleration of development really took off once we stepped into stadiums and once we start stepping into stadiums. His decision-making, the fluidity of it, his competitive spirit, his pinpoint accuracy, all of those things I thought really came to the forefront once we started coming into stadiums, and I thought that he grew and grew at a really fast pace once we got into stadiums. And I also think it's reasonable to expect that growth and development to continue as we push into the regular season. We're excited about where he is and in the ground that he's covered to this point and the ground that he's going to continue to cover.
Mike, there was a depth chart that was released yesterday that had Mason as the number 2 today. Kenny, just what's behind the discrepancy?
It was a clerical error. That's how the depth chart was listed at the start of training camp. So the cut and paste component was the cut and paste component. I know you were hoping for a little bit more colorful explanation, but it is what it is. That's what happened.
I'm not sure what that laughter was. I know for me, the laughter is along the lines of, I think there's some BS floating around in that explanation. Because, sure, and I've had people say, oh, it was Labor Day. It was Labor Day. Well, somebody was working on Monday to post the depth chart. I don't think they ran out the door, went straight to the river and jumped into their boat and disappeared for the rest of the day. Also, I have a feeling things can be edited through whatever mobile device you happen to have. If it was a clerical error, they surely knew about it because it sparked a reaction in Pittsburgh. People were confused. Their local hero is 3rd on the depth chart. What did he do to deserve that? We'd at least like to think he's the guy who's going to enter the game and not Mason Rudolph, who, frankly, we've all seen enough of over the past several years to know that he should not be the guy who's ready to play on a moment's notice. So they knew about it all day Monday, and they didn't change it until Tuesday. Here's my theory, and it's really not a high-level conspiracy theory. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think they put Mason Rudolph out there at number 2 just as one last little jostling of any other team out there that may want to trade for him. If you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, if you're contemplating a trade for Mason Rudolph and you're not yet offering the Steelers what they want and you see they've got him at QB2 and you think that may be the thing that gets someone else to jump into the pool, I better be the one to jump into the pool. I really do think that's why they did it. I think it was a last-ditch effort to get someone to trade for Rudolph before everything kind of locks in and settles down as it relates to the preparations for Week 1. Shireen, am I crazy?
You know what, Mike? As your conspiracy theories go, that's actually a pretty good one. And it's actually pretty plausible.
That one's not as crazy as all the other ones.
No, and I will buy that one. That makes perfect sense. Because I was sitting here when I was going down the rundown last night, and I'm thinking, I really am surprised that Mason Rudolph is still there. Because I thought, Detroit lost both their backup quarterbacks. I said, yeah, a team like Detroit will go out and trade for Mason Rudolph. So I am surprised that he's still on their roster. So that actually makes sense, Mike. I will buy that one.
Lose implies they wanted to keep. They politely or otherwise told their backup quarterbacks to get the hell out. And I know locally the Steelers fans and talk radio, they'd been pushing this idea of Rudolph to Detroit, and it may just be the Steelers want too much. The Steelers are saying, hey, we have a valuable component here that if you want this guy, you have to give us more than just chump change. The problem is, look at Gardner Minshew last year. Remember what the Jaguars got for him? A 6th-round pick. There isn't a lot of value there that teams are willing to devote to a backup quarterback, even though they should. Because if you may need that backup quarterback, as the Eagles learned 5 years ago. That backup quarterback may be the difference between losing in the playoffs, and winning the Super Bowl if your starter makes an untimely exit like Carson Wentz did in December of that year. So that's where we are. It's Trubisky, it's Pickett, it's Rudolph. They're carrying 3 guys on the 53-man roster. Most teams would prefer to have only 2 and have a developmental guy on the practice squad. That's not the case, and we'll see if Mason Rudolph at some point is moved by the Steelers before Week 8. They're not going to cut him, at least not in the short term, because he got a $2 million signing bonus to re-up with the team. That was one of the moves they made before they knew they were going to have Pickett. I think they may have redone Rudolph before they even managed to land Mitchell Trubisky. I'd have to go back and look at that timeline again, but Rudolph clearly the holdover from last year's depth chart. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.